Years after graduation, the classmate I had a secret crush on in high school had become a big celebrity. At the reunion, we met again, and he looked indifferent. "Excuse me, who are you?" Everyone thought Kai had already forgotten me. That was until the news of my unexpected death came back. While sorting through my belongings, my best friend accidentally found the love letters Kai had written to me in the past. "Lily, having a secret crush is too painful. I don't want to like you anymore." But there was a line in tiny handwriting underneath. "Just kidding." That same night, the news of Kai committing suicide for love went viral. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the day of the reunion. I looked at Kai's expressionless face in front of me and tentatively pulled out my phone, sending him a message. The next second, his special attention notification popped up. I died on a heavy snow day. I'd gone out looking for inspiration, got lost on the mountain, got trapped in the snow, and died of hypothermia. Not exactly a dignified way to go. My best friend, Mila, rushed over overnight when she got the news. When she claimed my body, she was crying so hard she could barely breathe. "Lily, how could you just leave me like this? Even if Kai doesn't remember you, you still have me." My soul was floating above, and I felt my toes curl in embarrassment. If I weren't already completely frozen, I would have jumped over to cover her mouth. Seriously, people had already said it was an accident, so how did it turn into Lily died of heartbreak in her version? Couldn't she let me keep a shred of dignity on Earth? But clearly, Mila wasn't having it. For some reason, she insisted that my death had something to do with Kai, pulled out her phone, and immediately started dialing. It took forever for Kai to pick up. "Hello?" A hoarse male voice came through, like he'd just been woken from a deep sleep. "Mila, what's up? I pulled an all-nighter on set last night." "Kai," Mila cut him off, her voice trembling with grief. "Lily's dead." I heard silence on the other end of the line stretch on for a long time. Even though I was already a ghost, a tiny flicker of hope stirred in my chest. How would Kai react knowing I'd died? Would he be sad? Or would he just think, "Oh, someone unimportant died"? After all, at the class reunion a few days ago, he'd been so cold. Surrounded by people nudging him, he just asked in that icy tone, "Excuse me, who are you?" That one sentence seemed to freeze the air around him. Meeting his indifferent gaze, all the courage I'd painstakingly built up before leaving evaporated. I'd only managed to stammer, and nothing, and drop my eyes, too afraid to look up again. Honestly, I could almost understand why. By now, he was a top-tier celebrity, and 6 years had passed since graduation. It was probably for the best that he didn't remember me. Otherwise, I'd always feel like I'd failed him. "Kai, aren't you listening to me?" There was no response on the other end. Mila, crying, demanded. I said, "Lily's dead. She's dead." Bang! A heavy thud came through the line. Kai sounded like he was gritting his teeth, his voice trembling. "I don't believe it." Then, just like that, the call was cut off. Mila stared at the disconnected call, both furious and heartbroken. She snapped a photo of my death report, sent it to him, and then blocked him. I wanted to comfort her, but my hand passed straight through her body. All I could do was wrap my arms around her through the air. "Don't cry, silly girl." On the 5th day after my death, Mila returned to N City with my ashes. I didn't have many family members in the country. My only brother, who had just learned the news, happened to be abroad on a business trip and was now rushing back on a flight. When Mila arrived at my apartment with the urn, my ragdoll cat had been starving for 2 days. I had left enough cat food for 3 days, thinking I'd be back quickly, but of course, I never came back. Since Mila had often visited before, the moment the cat saw her at the door, it leapt up and started nuzzling her, demanding food. Seeing this seemed to stir up emotions in Mila, she nearly cried again. After she poured the cat food, my little furball immediately dove in. Mila, meanwhile, went into the study and began sorting through my belongings. As a full-time writer, I had spent more time in the study than in the bedroom. The desk still looked exactly as it did when I left, and on the computer sat a framed photo of my high school friends and me. In the photo, Mila was holding me close, standing right in the middle, while Kai was off to the far right. There was some space between us. I was smiling at the camera, while Kai's gaze flicked toward me from the corner of his eye. Seeing Kai now made Mila fume. She had finished tidying up the other things and was about to pick up the framed photo when my little cat, just done eating, came bounding over. As Mila reached for the frame, the cat leapt forward, swiping at it with its paws. Crash! The frame fell to the ground, the glass shattering everywhere. Startled, Mila scooped up the cat, and only then noticed that something seemed to be tucked inside the broken frame. "Meow," the cat murmured apologetically, as if aware it had caused trouble. Mila bent down and carefully extracted an envelope from the shattered frame. Opening it, she discovered a letter, an actual love letter. Not only Mila but I was confused. The paper inside the envelope had yellowed with age, yet the handwriting was still sharp and precise. Every word revealed a subtle yet overwhelming crush. "Lily, having a crush on you is too painful. I don't want to like you anymore." But then, at the bottom in tiny letters, "Just kidding." Our eyes both froze on the lower right corner. The signature was Kai. The very same Kai, the top celebrity in the entertainment world now. The same Kai I had crushed on all through high school. Suddenly, I remembered, this frame had indeed been a gift from Kai back in our senior year. Over all these years, I'd moved countless times, but this frame had always come with me, sitting beside my computer for years. Back then, I never imagined the frame held this secret tucked inside. I recalled that last phone call, Kai gritting his teeth, his voice trembling as he said, "I don't believe it." My chest ached. Do ghosts feel heartbreak too? I watched as Mila immediately pulled out her phone and unblocked Kai. But before she could even dial, a breaking news notification popped up at the top of the screen. Kai, suicide. The next second, Mila almost trembled as she clicked on the breaking news link. She saw a video posted just minutes ago by a marketing account with over 1 million followers. The footage showed an ambulance parked in front of a luxury villa, surrounded by security guards and staff. At the very end, the camera wobbled, and everyone saw it, the hand dangling from the stretcher inside the ambulance, long, slender fingers, unnaturally pale skin. A dark red liquid dripped from the fingertips, splattering onto the ground like little blooming flowers. Kai committed suicide by wrist cutting at home tonight. Contents of the suicide note suggest a lover's pact. I stared at the words lover's pact, bold and glaring, and for a moment, my brain seemed to stop working. No, this isn't right. It shouldn't be like this. How could he die? How could he possibly die? In that instant, countless memories flashed through my mind like a carousel. Scenes from the past replayed over and over, until finally it froze on that snowy winter day. 17-year-old Kai stood at the steps of the teaching building, reaching out his hand to me. Then it's a deal, Lily. His eyes curved gently, and the faint curl of his lips made him look impossibly tender. If I become a big star one day, you'll be my manager. As soon as he said it, a gust of wind blew through, and pure white snowflakes blanketed the entire world. Everything felt like a dream. Lily? Lily. I snapped back to reality. What are you staring at? Kai's here. I looked at Mila's concerned face and instantly felt my eyes grow wet. How wonderful. I had somehow returned to the day of the class reunion. The next second, I lifted my eyes, and they met Kai's gaze. In that instant, I almost immediately guessed what he would say next. Excuse me, who are you? Why are you crying? The voice from my memory overlapped with the voice in my ears. I stared at him, bewildered. What? Unlike in my previous life, Kai didn't ask who I was. He just furrowed his brows and repeated in a cold voice, "Why are you crying?" As he spoke, he seemed to subconsciously want to reach out. But the moment he noticed the setting around us, he forced himself to stop. Then he turned his face away, frowning even more tightly. I lifted my hand to touch my cheek and realized that tears had already fallen without me noticing. Lily? Mila, standing beside me, finally noticed something was wrong. What's the matter? Are you feeling unwell? No, it's nothing. I took a deep breath and quickly wiped the tears from my face, pretending to rub my eyes. Probably just an eyelash got into my eye. So embarrassing. How could I end up crying in front of him? Kai must be wondering what's going on. I cautiously lifted my eyes to glance at him. He was talking with Mila. Mila now works as an editor at a fashion magazine and is the only person present who has professional contact with Kai. That's why in my previous life, after I died, she was able to reach him. The reunion had been organized a month in advance. People knew Kai would be coming, so quite a few had shown up today. Even now, as the food was being served, many eyes still lingered on Kai. Some people just seemed born to be the center of attention. He only had to sit there, and the whole room's focus was on him. I kept my head down and ate quietly, sitting across from Mila. Being able to see him again, just that was already enough. This time, I won't die. And if I don't, he won't die either. After a few rounds of drinks, the class president walked over holding a glass of wine, insisting on toasting Kai. Big star, I honestly thought you wouldn't come. This time, you're really giving us face. Kai smiled, politely lifted his glass, and took a small sip. The class president's gaze drifted to Mila and me sitting beside him, and he seemed to frown slightly. You're, Lily? The words drew the attention of the other classmates who had been toasting each other. It really is you. Seeing me nod, the class president became a bit excited. You suddenly transferred in senior year, and we lost contact after that. I thought you wouldn't come to the reunion. Come to think of it, you were Kai's deskmate back then. At that, I clearly felt Kai's gaze follow the words, landing on me. Is that so? I heard his tone, neutral, indifferent, as if he barely noticed I existed. I'd long forgotten. The food in my bowl had gone a bit cold. I chewed and swallowed, feeling a slight dryness on my tongue. That winter of senior year, I suddenly transferred schools because of family reasons. Just the day before, we were imagining our futures together. The next day, all contact vanished. Over the next few years, the only person who stayed in touch with me was Mila. Her family was well off, and she must have heard bits and pieces about my family situation, yet she never brought it up in front of me. The following summer, Kai shot to fame on a talent show, winning the championship in one fell swoop. That summer, his name was everywhere, That face I knew so well appeared on countless TVs in households across the city, and even when passing a mall, his songs played over the speakers. It was as if overnight, I went from sharing a desk with him to being just one among millions following him online. And finally, I could openly admit that the person I liked was named Kai. The days of studying apart from him were incredibly tough. Several times, I had opened Kai's chat window, only to fall silent for a long while as I stared at the message history. Lily, where are you? Lily, you're late. Lily, what happened? Lily, it's snowing, remember to bring an umbrella. Scrolling further down, there were over a dozen missed calls, and countless messages filled with concern. The last message had been sent 9 hours later, right at midnight. Lily, I'm not waiting for you anymore. That night happened to be New Year's Eve. We had planned to meet, but in the end, I didn't show up. I typed and deleted in the chat box again and again, unable to decide what to say. Then, suddenly, the phone rang. I jumped, and when I saw who was calling, I instinctively pressed answer. The next second, I heard that familiar breathing on the other end. My throat tightened, hoarse and sore. I opened my mouth, but didn't know what to say. Lily, the voice on the other end was almost a growl, teeth gritted. Say something. What do you mean by typing? I took a deep breath and spoke softly. You, okay? There was a pause on the other end, his breathing catching. I had imagined 1,000 times what I would say when I finally reunited with Kai. In the end, all I could do was watch the distance between us, separated by a phone screen, and hear his cold tone. Thanks to you, I'm doing very well. After a long silence, I spoke in a dry, awkward voice. Then. I wish you all the best from here on. May your career skyrocket. May your path to stardom be smooth. Beep. He hung up. I was left staring at the phone, crying and laughing at the same time. Later, he truly did as I said, his career soared, and his path to stardom was smooth. The quiet, grand secret of my adolescence, my unspoken, intense crush, finally came to an end. The dinner was lively and noisy. Throughout the meal, Mila kept giving me subtle glances, but I pretended not to notice each time. I knew the truth, Kai didn't really forget me. After all, in a class of over 40 students, he could call out every single person's name, yet his attitude toward me remained cold. It was hard to say it wasn't intentional. As the gathering was winding down, I got up and went to the bathroom. On the way back, passing the terrace, I ran into Kai stepping out for some fresh air. Seeing me, he casually rolled up his sleeves, revealing toned forearms. Then, with practiced ease, he flicked a cigarette out of the pack, gave me a brief glance, and asked, cigarette dangling from his lips, mind if I smoke? I shook my head. The private room was well heated, so I had taken off my coat when I came in. After being outside for a while, I sneezed from the cold. The next second, Kai, who had been about to light his cigarette, snapped the lighter shut. I looked at him in confusion. What's up? Not smoking anymore? But I couldn't deny it. The way Kai had casually held the cigarette between his lips and glanced at me just now exuded a mature, masculine charm. It was a side of him I had never seen before. I looked away, rubbing my arms, about to head back into the private room, when suddenly, a voice called out behind me. Lily. I instinctively turned to look at him. Then I saw the man who had just been so cold, now his eyes were full of irritation. He practically clenched his teeth as he forced the words out. Are you never going to come to me unless I go to you first? I was a little stunned, and blankly replied, but, you were the one pretending not to know me first. Shut up. His glare pinned me down. Oh, I immediately lowered my eyes again. Seeing that, Kai couldn't help but laugh in irritation. Lily, do you even have a conscience? I wanted to whisper a protest, but after a moment's thought, I let it go. You're a big celebrity. Whatever you say is right. Huh. He ruffled his hair in annoyance, then strode back toward the private room. I jogged after him. By the time we entered, the meal was just finishing up. Mila had been looking for me, and when she saw Kai and me walking in together, her eyes instantly flickered with a subtle, teasing gleam. Oh, so you two went out to catch up? Did Kai remember you? I thought for a moment and nodded. You could call it holding a little grudge. Kai beside me snorted coldly. Before everyone left, the class president started a new group chat so it would be easier to organize the next reunion. Since Kai changed his contact info after debuting, the class president asked Mila to add people to the group. Mila was busy catching up with others and casually called out, Lily, add Kai's alt account. Okay. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the contact list. I had added both Kai's main and alt accounts years ago, but we hadn't spoken in a long time, so I wasn't completely sure. Tentatively, I opened Kai's alt account chat and, before the Kai beside me could even react, I quickly sent a sticker. The next second, I heard the phone next to him buzz. Kai fumbled, trying to lock his phone, but I still caught a glimpse of the words close friend flashing across the screen. What should I do? Pretend I didn't see it? Before I could even think of a way to let him save face, Mila chimed in again. By the way, Kai, isn't your manager coming to pick you up? Why don't you drop Lily off on your way? Huh? Kai immediately frowned, his tone a little reluctant. Why should I have to? I've been drinking too, and it's so late. Letting her take a cab home alone would be too pitiful, don't you think? Kai glanced at me. I had just slipped on my coat. Thinking only about seeing Kai tonight, I'd forgotten it might snow later. I buttoned only the top button, leaving a small section of my neck exposed. I was debating whether to hunch my neck a little. After all, Kai was still sulking. He probably wouldn't care what I was wearing anyway. In the next second, Kai grabbed the scarf Mila had draped over the chair and wrapped it around my neck in just a few quick moves. He was so nimble that before I could even react, the scarf had me wrapped up tight, leaving only my eyes exposed. There, he said. Kai tied a final knot and met my gaze. I blinked twice. The scarf was wrapped too tightly, so I exhaled forcefully, blowing my bangs up. Kai looked like he was about to laugh, but held it back. Don't overthink it, he warned, keeping a straight face. I just don't want paparazzi lying in wait outside. If they get a clear shot of your face, it'll be a hassle. I thought for a second, then tried to mimic the tone of a gossip account. Shocking. Kai meets with a mysterious girl late at night. Are their romance rumors true? What on earth have you been watching all day? After saying that, he turned around quickly and headed outside. Keep up. Got it. On the drive back, Jake tried several times to peek under my tightly wrapped scarf to see my face, but failed every time. He kept opening his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closing it again, over and over. Finally, he gave in and asked, "Aren't you stuffy? The heater's cranked up pretty high in here." I dare not take it off, afraid of getting yelled at, and afraid of being photographed and posted online. I answered honestly. Jake chuckled at that. You and Kai were high school classmates? Was he this grumpy back then too? As soon as the words left his mouth, Kai let out an annoyed tch from the back seat. I thought for a moment, then said, not really. He was actually pretty nice in high school. Nice to me, anyway. Then when did he do a complete 180 after high school? Another scoff came from the back seat. I fell silent, a twinge of guilt creeping in. Even the manager could tell something was off now. Kai, what's your deal? If you're uncomfortable, scratch it or something. I'm just chatting with an old classmate. Who are you huffing and puffing at? Just drop her off and be done with it. You've got too much to say. Kai's tone turned cold again. The manager clamped up, shooting me a helpless look. We didn't speak until the car pulled up to the gate of my residential complex. I thanked the manager and got ready to get out. As soon as I pushed the door open, the frigid air rushed in, and tiny, glistening flakes melted coolly on my fingertips. Oh, it's snowing. Cough, cough. Kai suddenly burst into a fit of coughs from the back seat. Close the door. Jake, seemingly unfazed by this, explained to me. Sorry about that. He had a really bad illness a while back. He gets pretty fragile once winter hits. I froze for a second, then leaned toward the back seat and whispered, it's been really cold lately. If your throat's bothering you, you should cut down on smoking. As soon as the words left my mouth, I saw the manager's face twist into pure shock. Smoking? Kai doesn't smoke at all, he said. How could a public figure like him dare to smoke? If he got photographed, he'd get torn apart online. Kai suddenly kicked the back of the front seat, then clamped a hand over his mouth and coughed until his face turned red. Shut up, will you? I ought to kick your ass. Bang! I slammed the car door shut. I stood there dumbfounded, watching the car drive away. After a moment's thought, I pulled out my phone and texted Mila. Lily, how do you calm down a guy who's mad? Mila replied almost instantly. Did you make Kai mad? Not exactly, he just got mad at himself for slipping up. Slipping up about what? About having a crush on me. I didn't dare say that directly to Mila, so I changed the subject instead. I've thought about it, and I decided not to go traveling after all. If I don't go traveling for inspiration, I won't end up dying in some random accident either. It took Mila a long time to reply. Well, perfect timing then, I've got something for you to do. It wasn't until the next day that I found out what Mila had meant by something for you to do. She showed up at my place bright and early, telling me to grab my things, and the cat, and get ready to go out. The crew Kai's filming with right now needs a cat actor. I happen to know the producer, and I saw him post a plea for one on Tinder Moments last night. Your cat immediately popped into my head, so I just signed you guys up, she explained. And if Kai's still mad at you, that just means you're still on his mind. If you hang around in front of him more, maybe he'll cool down after a while. After saying that, she stepped on the gas and dropped me right at the entrance of the film set. Okay, I've got stuff to take care of later, I'll come pick you up tonight. Before I even had a chance to refuse, she dumped me, along with the cat, on the cruise staff and left. Mew, the kitten nuzzled into my arms, embodying the clingy nature of ragdoll cats to a T. What an adorable little cat. The director's definitely gonna love it, the staff member gushed. Hearing my kid get praised, I smiled too. But the second we stepped onto the set, the little troublemaker in my arms wriggled free, flipped over, and jumped out. I panicked, immediately rushing to chase it with the staff member. It was just intermission. Several actors were sitting on lounge chairs nearby, going over their scripts. They looked over when they heard the commotion, and once they saw the culprit was a tiny cat, they all broke into soft, doting grins. What a cute kitty. Sweetie, what color sack do you like? I'll come for you. Over here, over here. Sisters got treats. Amid the commotion, the person dozing in the lounge chair farthest away finally stirred. The man reached up, lifting the script he'd draped over his face to block the light. His brows furrowed, and he was just about to speak. Sorry, it ran off on its own. I panted as I sprinted over, finally cornering the little troublemaker in front of the group of actors. Mew. The kitten, thinking I was playing with it, flicked its tail and darted onto the lounge chair. But before it could go further, a long, slender hand clamped down on the scruff of its neck, halting its movement. In the next second, I met Kai's gaze as he looked up. Without thinking, I blurted out, "Baby, don't grab it like that." Thud. The script in Kai's hand hit the ground. He stared at me in stunned shock, the tips of his ears flushing bright red almost instantly. What did you just call me? The air turned awkwardly intimate in an instant. Kai's face was practically glowing red, and I hesitated for a split second, caught between embarrassing him further and letting the misunderstanding linger, before calling out, "Yuan Bao, come here." Mew. At the sound of my voice, the kitten flicked its tail and started squirming. When Kai didn't let go, the little rascal swatted at his hand with its tiny paws. It broke free and jumped right into my arms. I glanced back at Kai. He looked completely oblivious to the scratch, still staring at me in a daze. I had no choice but to lean in and mumble an explanation. "This is my cat. His full name's Yuan Bao, but I call him baby sometimes." Yuan Bao blinked his big eyes at the blushing human in front of him, his tail flicking back and forth like a feather duster. I, on the other hand, was desperate to slip away before Kai's embarrassment turned to anger. "So, if that's all, I'll just..." But no sooner had I turned to leave than he called out, "Lily." Kai pressed a hand to his face, the words practically squeezed out through gritted teeth. If there hadn't been people around, I swear he would have blown a fuse right then. "Don't go." I froze, rooted to the spot. Just then, the staff member who'd chased the cat with me finally caught up. "Ms. Lily, did you get the cat? The director wants to see it." I jumped at the excuse. Yes. I can't wait to meet the director." I didn't dare glance back at Kai as I hurried off, my steps quickening. Yuan Bao passed the audition smoothly. He'd be staying on set for a month, playing the male lead's cat. By the time we finished, the break was over, and Kai had already gone to film his scene. The staff member showed me around the set, and finally took me to watch Kai act. "Our Kai's such a great actor, you can rest easy with the cat working with him," they said. I watched Kai as he filmed. It was a scene where his character reunited with the female lead, his long-lost childhood sweetheart. Facing her after all those years, he broke into a soft, gentle smile. In the shot, Kai lifted his eyes to the female lead, his lips just starting to curve into a smile. Then he caught sight of me standing behind the camera. "Cut," the director called out. "Kai, the smile's good, but it's too soft and giddy. Let's redo that smile." The smile didn't disappear, it just moved from Kai's face to mine. Kudos to the director, he even picked up on tiny micro-expressions like that. I found it amusing, so I held the cat and watched for a little longer. Until a familiar male voice sounded in my ear. "What do you think? This kid's pretty handsome when he's acting, huh?" I turned my head, and my smile faded. "Just stopped by to visit the set, and happened to see you," Toby said, smiling at me. The assistant director, who'd spotted him, hurried over right away. "Mr. CEO. Nothing important, carry on with your work," Toby replied. "I had someone prepare afternoon tea, it'll be delivered soon." "Thank you, Mr. CEO," the crew members chorused, grateful at the news. Toby just waved a hand dismissively. "So you're the investor for this show?" I asked. "Yep, top-tier crew, top-tier script, all tailored to make my cash cow a star," he said, glancing over at Kai, who was back to filming. His eyes held obvious approval. "This kid's got what it takes to be a best actor someday." I nodded in agreement. Even though Kai had gotten his start on a talent show, there was no denying he had a real knack for acting. Speaking of which, Toby turned to me. "What are you doing here?" I lifted the cat in my arms and gave him a little shake. The crew needed a cat actor. "I brought Yuan Bao here to earn money for his canned food." "Fair enough, let me tell them right away. We'll make sure our cat prince gets treated right," he said. I laughed. "Wait, you interested in Kai?" Toby asked, noticing I'd been staring at him. "Yeah," I nodded. "I like him, I want to pursue him." He stared at me in shock. "But I think he's still mad at me," I added, dropping my gaze and absently stroking the cat in my arms, my tone a little glum. "Fine, I'll go tell my brother to add more funding to this project," Toby said. "Your Highness, what do you say? Want me to tie him up and deliver him straight to your door?" Pfft! I burst out laughing. When Kai finished filming again, he hurried over and glanced around eagerly, only to find no sign of that familiar figure. "Quit looking. She had something to take care of and left early," Toby said coolly from the side. "Mr. CEO, Kai finally noticed his boss had come to visit the set. You know Lily?" What a lucky guy, Toby murmured, his eyes fixed on Kai's face. Sure, you're my cash cow, but she's the Brown family's little princess. Someone way out of your league. He and Owen were childhood friends, so he knew more about the Brown family than most people. Since the family already had an heir, Owen, his older brother, Toby had been raised with a loose hand. By all rights, he should have grown up to be a spoiled, aimless rich kid. But after college, Owen invested in this entertainment company for him, and surprisingly, it had thrived over the years, launching the careers of many artists, with Kai being one of the biggest. Given Kai's status in the industry now, plenty of people would clamor to be with him if he so much as hinted at interest. But Lily was different. At Toby's words, Kai frowned. Her last name is Moore. After years in the industry, he'd certainly heard of the Brown family, but he'd never once linked Lily to them. Not to mention, back in high school, Lily had never breathed a word of it to him either. She goes by Moore, but what's wrong with her being part of the Brown family? Toby said, then grew curious himself. What's your relationship, anyway? How do you know each other? High school deskmates, Kai muttered, a sudden restlessness creeping into his tone. She transferred suddenly senior year, and we never saw each other again after that. Senior year, huh? Toby paused, then suddenly clicked his tongue in realization. Right. That was the year the Brown family's matriarch got really sick. She was taken back to the Brown family around then. At that, Kai's head snapped up, his gaze locking onto Toby. What did you just say? This involves their family affairs. I can't just spell it all out for you, Toby said, clapping him on the shoulder. Just know she's part of the Brown family now. That's all you need to get. Kai fell silent for a long moment before speaking slowly, his voice quiet. So, she had her own reasons for leaving back then? Toby let out an exasperated laugh. Did you even listen to what I just said? He'd never seen such a textbook case of someone being lovesick. The next morning, I stumbled out of my study, my legs feeling weak. The new novel I'd started had suddenly gotten a surge of readers yesterday, but I didn't have a single chapter stockpiled. Faced with my editor's reminders, I was too scared to admit I hadn't even finalized the outline yet. So I'd rushed home from the set and pulled an all-nighter writing. I'd made plans with the crew to bring the cat in for a screen test this morning. Glancing at the time, I forced myself to perk up and hailed a taxi. Thanks to the heads-up Toby had given before leaving yesterday, the crew was noticeably warmer to me today. They took the cat away to film, and I stood off to the side, dead tired. Through my drowsiness, I heard someone calling my name. Lily, come sleep here. Okay. I was too sleepy to process when Kai's tone had gotten so gentle. I walked over and collapsed onto the lounge chair, falling asleep instantly. When I woke up again, it was already afternoon. A long men's down jacket was draped over me. Awake? Kai's voice came from beside me. I looked up, and there he was, holding Yuan Bao in his arms, about to open a can of cat food. Wait, when did he buy cat food? Yuan Bao, come to Mom, I called. The kitten heard me, but ignored me completely. Kai had not only bought the most expensive cat food, but also a big bag of freeze-dried treats. Right now, the little guy was burying his face in the food, eating happily. Yuan Bao, say goodbye to your mom, Kai said, and as he spoke, he shot me a deliberate glance. Dad's got more than enough treats to go around. The back of my neck felt warm instantly. I hesitated for a second, then pushed through my shyness and asked seriously, Kai, are you taking advantage of me? Of course not, he said. He might have spoken those words, but the pride in his eyes only grew more obvious. In the show, I am technically his dad. Do you have a problem with that, Mom? I turned my face away, my tone, muffled, no. Somehow, I could clearly tell Kai's attitude toward me had softened a lot. When he found out I'd be staying with the crew for a month, he didn't say anything. Since my new novel was set in the entertainment industry anyway, I took the chance to ask if I could work as his part-time assistant for a while, for inspiration. At that, Kai looked reluctant on the surface, but his eyebrows lifted slightly, almost imperceptibly. Is the male lead a domineering CEO? He asked. I shook my head. No, the male lead's a total simp. I paused, then added in a quiet rush, not that I'm calling you a simp or anything. Kai just stared at me, half amused and half annoyed. Over the next month, I showed up at the set every day on time, cat in tow. Since the male lead had plenty of scenes with the cat, Kai made a point to spend time bonding with Yuan Bao. After days of plying him with high-end canned food and freeze-dried treats, the two were thick as thieves, like real father and son, in less than a week. Yuan Bao even refused to leave Kai's lap during breaks. So it became a common sight on set, Kai sitting in a lounge chair, reading his script, with a beautiful ragdoll cat curled up in his arms, purring and kneading. With his charm alone, little Yuan Bao won over everyone on set, even the director. The day Yuan Bao wrapped his cat scenes happened to be New Year's Eve, and the crew even threw a little farewell party for him. I got caught up in the mood, had a few drinks too many, and unsurprisingly, got drunk. Kai had asked for a day off the next day to attend a New Year's event. When his driver came to pick him up, he offered to give me a ride. The car's heater was cranked up, and as soon as Yuanbao got in, he curled up in Kai's arms and fell asleep. Kai had also drunk quite a bit that night. He was leaning back in the rear seat with his eyes closed, resting. I rolled down the window a crack, letting the cold winter wind brush my face, dispelling the faint heat from the alcohol. Then Kai suddenly spoke up, "Don't let it blow too long. It's freezing lately, you'll catch a cold." The driver up front chimed in too, "This winter does seem extra cold. I think the last time it was this cold was 6 years ago. Man, the snow that year was huge." At his words, my eyelashes fluttered slightly. When we reached the neighborhood gate, Yuanbao was still curled up in Kai's arms, refusing to move. I was debating whether to wake him when Kai got out of the car too. "Let's go. You've been drinking, I'll walk you up," he said. The winter night was bitter cold, but my body, warmed by the alcohol, felt overheated. I stared at Kai and nodded dazedly. Yet it wasn't until Kai walked me to my door and prepared to leave that I realized I'd been overthinking. Watching him tuck the sleeping kitten into its bed, then turn to go, I grabbed the sleeve of his coat without thinking. Kai turned back, confused. Could you? I racked my brain, only to blurt out the weakest excuse I could think of. "Could you sing me a song?" Kai had debuted through a talent show, so singing and dancing were second nature to him. But never before had someone tugged at the corner of his clothes and asked him to sing just for them. Kai couldn't hold back a laugh. He squatted down, meeting my eyes since I was sitting on the sofa. "Lily, do you have any idea how much I get paid per minute for an appearance?" My alcohol-fogged brain was unusually slow. It took me several seconds to process his words. I looked straight into his eyes and said slowly, It's okay. I have money." "Oh?" Kai let out a soft chuckle. "Right, I forgot, you're the Brown family's young lady." I frowned in confusion, wondering how he'd found out about my identity. "Of course I wouldn't dare refuse a request from the young lady," he said. He paused, then softened his tone, adding a hint of coaxing warmth to it. "But, if I sing for you, what reward will the young lady give me?" Tempted by his good looks, I didn't hesitate to answer, "Anything you want, as long as I have it." "Anything at all?" he asked, half joking. "Even helping me win Best Actor?" That's a bit tricky." I hesitated, but not entirely impossible. If I went home and got on my knees to beg my brother, he might agree. The man across from me laughed at that. "Never mind," he said, looking at me with a smile, his tone soft beyond belief. "I'm just teasing you." That familiar line instantly brought to mind the love letter hidden between the pages of my photo album. I looked at Kai in front of me, then suddenly reached out and cupped his face. "Kai, Meeting his confused gaze, I whispered softly, "Can you stop disliking me?" Kai froze for a moment first. Then his eyelashes fluttered, he lowered his eyes, and said nothing. A sharp, sour ache suddenly welled up in my chest. I sniffled softly. "That winter 6 years ago, that New Year's Eve night, were you very cold? What had you been thinking, standing alone in the square waiting for me?" Kai still said nothing. A long time passed. Just as my eyes grew heavy and I was about to drift off to sleep, the man in front of me finally reacted. "Yeah, I was freezing," he said. His voice was so soft, so quiet. "So Lily, don't leave me stuck in this winter again." I didn't reply. I'd already collapsed onto the sofa and fallen asleep. But in my dream, Kai didn't leave. Instead, he hummed a soft tune and patted my back gently, lulling me to rest. That song was so warm and tender that my furrowed brows relaxed unconsciously. The last thing I remembered was someone leaning close to my ear, calling softly, "Baby." He must have been calling the cat. My hangover-addled brain felt like a muddled mess. When I woke up in bed the next day, I racked my brain for ages but still couldn't remember how I'd gotten back to my room. There were a few unread messages on my phone, from my brother, from Mila, and from Kai. My brother's message told me he'd be back in the country next month. Mila's message complained about why I hadn't been the first to send her New Year's Eve greetings, and asked if I didn't love her anymore. As for Kai's, staring at the message on the screen, I suddenly felt like I couldn't even read properly. "Kai, I made you hangover soup. Remember to drink it." I hesitated for a moment, then sent him a tentative reply. "Did I say something stupid again after getting drunk last night?" Kai replied instantly. "Kai, don't worry, it's not poisoned." "Got it, then." I felt relieved, got up, washed up, then went to reheat the hangover soup. While sipping it, I replied to the unread messages one by one. Finally, after deliberately ignoring the editor's message, disguised as New Year's wishes but actually a reminder to submit my draft, I opened phone as usual. There, I saw a post Kai had made 10 hours earlier, late at night. "Kai V, urgent, how to make delicious hangover soup." Glancing at the comments, many fans had shared their family recipes for hangover soup, and some were asking if Kai had gotten drunk himself. Kai had replied to that top concerned comment, "No, it's for a family member who drank too much." A family member. I stared at the bowl of soup in my hands. Suddenly, it no longer felt like a plain, ordinary bowl of hangover soup. Darn it, I even suspected Kai might have poisoned it earlier. I'm such a terrible person. Having agreed to work as Kai's part-time assistant, I still showed up at the film set on time every day for the rest of that period. As time passed, everyone else also found out Kai and I were former classmates. During occasional breaks, some crew members even chatted with me about gossip. "Kai's so handsome, did he have tons of people chasing him back in high school?" one asked. I thought for a moment. Not that many, I guess. I remember one Valentine's Day, most guys in our class got chocolates, but he didn't. He even asked me for some. I ended up grabbing a random bar from the canteen store and giving it to him, and he was really happy about it. Wait, something felt off here. It suddenly clicked. How could someone who got love letters every now and then not receive a single chocolate on Valentine's Day? Just then, Kai came back after finishing his scene. Seeing me still chatting with others, he frowned. "Didn't you say you'd be my assistant?" The water's gone cold. But I only stared at him, my gaze tinged with playful resentment. "On Valentine's Day in our first year of high school, was that random chocolate I bought you tasty? And all the other chocolates people must have given you, where did you hide them from me? I suddenly think I don't need to bother my assistant with everything. It's just hot water, I'll get it myself," Kai said. With that, he turned and walked off to fetch hot water. I watched his back, a smile tugging at my lips. So it started that early. I think I finally figured it out.